Hello and welcome to the Poe-Cast. I am Benjamin,
And I am Christopher.
and we're very, very tired, Benjamin and
We're
Christopher.
we're extremely tired, and
Would, yeah, we would like to extend a very long apology for the delays. It mostly has to do with the reasons we're tired. Just college is not being friendly this semester.
yes,
Okay,
my
that'll be
brain
good.
isn't working at the moment, but
Yeah, with our both of our brains not working, we're just gonna word vomit this Poe-Cast. Hobby updates. What have you been doing lately, Christopher?
I've been trying to survive, and and by my box of Bretonnian men at arms and Bretonnian
Yes.
peasant bowmen, which I have carefully constructed to remove the heads with giant warts and boils and cancerous growths and noses which have fallen off. Okay, Benjamin, you can stop vomiting.
Bulk, bulk. Nasty.
Yeah, so
I can handle blood, I can handle guts, but boils and sores and
this is why you will never get into Demons of Chaos, because you can't stand Nurgle.
That's the funny thing. I can't stand Nurgle, yet at the same time it just intrigues me just because of the description of Nurgle.
I know, but you would never be able to paint one of those.
Okay, to explain to anyone who may not know, Nurgle, there's the different factions of Warhammer 40K, blah blah blah. Even in normal Warhammer, there's one of the demons, and there's four main demons: the Blood God Khorne, Nurgle, the Plague God, or demon. I shouldn't say God. Plague demon. Tzeentch, isn't he knowledge or something like that? Knowledge and trickery.
Yeah.
And then there's a fourth one which nobody remembers, or at least we don't. Yeah, but
Khorne, Tzeentch,
Nurgle,
Nurgle, and Dread it all. I have to look it up now.
that fourth one, yeah.
I know him. You made me forget him.
Nurgle, though, like I said, is the demon of plagues and disease and nastiness. And Christopher gave me a bunch of all the army rule books, and I was like, I'll read the demons just for the stories, see what stories they have. And the stories were just nasty. I was like, bleh, but then they went into the description of each demon, and it was like, it's weird that it's making them sound good, but it like made reason like, with plague and disease, the body can't heal and become better and blah blah blah. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting, and I like the Nurgles for that. That every time I look at a Nurgle model, I just am ready to puke. They're nasty. And props for people who have the guts and stomach to paint them. Literally guts and stomach. Most Nurgle things have their intestines hanging out. It's like, nah.
Okay, Tzeentch is the changer of ways, weaver of all fates, and the great conspirator.
So knowledge. Haha.
Yeah, Nurgle is the great lord of decay and the master of plague and pestilence.
Yeah.
Khorne is the god of battle, the blood god, the skull taker. Skull taker, I like that one.
Oh yeah,
And
his battle machines are really cool because their shield is filled with skulls, and someone on the Games Army Workshop painters thing that Christopher got me on, cool community, they post all kinds of cool things. Someone is making a new Imperial Knight, a new model, which we'll probably talk about in a minute, with that shield and axe from the Chaos Titan. Like they took off, yeah, and they put the shield, the skull shield over the gun, and the gun sticking out in the middle of the shield. It's really cool. But anyway, this fourth one, we can't remember.
the fourth one is Slaanesh, the lord of pleasure, the dark god dedicated to the pursuit of earthly gratification and the overthrow of all decent behavior. God of obsession and the master of excess in all things.
He might be my second favorite demon. I'm gonna have to check him out now that I know what he is.
He's got, like, weird dark elves.
Ooh, Dark Elves. I thought about playing as Dark Elves in the old fantasy.
That'd be cool.
Dark Elves look cool. Anyways, so that's our hobby stuff.
Have you done anything?
I I got bored. I decided I wanted a Mega Knob to back up War Boss Frag Butt. So I grabbed some leftover bits from my orcs and I started scratch building one. I still need to make him a little bulky. I slapped him together. I painted him. He still needs more stuff before I put a base on him, but I don't want to just slap him together and make him look like continue to slap him together and not put any thought into it.
Yeah. My opinion is still that he needs more beefy armor. Look kind of like a Killican, just really there.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, the thing is, the idea behind him is he's battle damaged, like part of his foot was blown off, and that's why he's getting back up.
Okay. He looks a little bit skinny to me.
I mean, I don't know. I'm still working on his backstory. Mega Nub Zitgob. Yeah. He looks cool though. I like his head. I saw someone used his head in another orc conversion on Pinterest. I've been using Pinterest a lot lately. If anyone wants to look me up, Benjamin Wagner, and look at all my orkiness board, see what's going on.
Look for the Benjamin Wagner with orkiness, because I think there is another Benjamin Wagner on Pinterest.
I'm sure there is, but you'll know me because
I think there's only two.
Star Wars, fantasy, and 40K terrain.
There's only two. There's only two of you.
There's only two of us? Wow.
Mm-hmm. There's probably more than one of me. There's a lot of skeletons around. Oh well.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of you when I was trying to re-find you on Skype when I got this new thing. I forgot where I was going with this. Oh, but the orcs. Have you seen Captain America?
No, actually, I'm not.
Do you know the squad in Captain America? Okay, so in the movie Captain America, this isn't really spoiler. This kind of set up. He was made into a super soldier.
Yeah.
And then they started using him to get people to buy war bonds. So they pretty much had this perfect super soldier, and they made him an actor. And then he eventually ended up performing in the front lines of Germany for the soldiers. And then one of his friends got captured, and then he went and saved him. And then they're like, okay, maybe we should start applying our super soldiers. So they've teamed him up with some hand-picked British commandos and a couple of American commandos.
Okay.
So there's like Captain America, there's his American buddy who's in a leather jacket and this old-fashioned baseball cap. And there's this other guy who has the curly mustache and a derby hat, and he has like all the heavy weapons. He's the explosives guy. And there's another guy. But someone made an orc version. I pinned it on Pinterest. Someone made an orc Captain America, an orc derby hat guy, and that's the head that Meganob Zitgob has, and then the other two guys.
This
it was incredible. Beautiful. It was so beautiful. I was just sitting there, I was like, I don't know why I like this, because I don't like when someone makes something orky. Oddly enough, the only reason I posted the Orc X-Wing was because it was actually made really well. I wouldn't field something like that, but it was like, oh, cool. But yeah, Army, we did Army update, yeah, blah blah
blah. I've got to see where'd you pin it?
Orkiness.
Because I got to see this before we move on. Hey, Potato Head.
Yep, the Potato Head Stompa. I am going to do that.
They've got General Grievous's wheel bike orc thingies.
Oh, those are just mono wheels.
Yeah, but whenever I see a mono wheel, not an orc. Whenever I see a mono wheel, I think of General Grievous.
I'm going to do that. The thing that Christopher said was not an orc. Awesome. Someone pretty much took a barrel from 40K, put it on a base, and there's armholes cut out, and out of the armholes are two orc arms. One's holding a pistol. The other, actually, they're both holding pistols.
Yeah, both.
And it's shuffling, and the lid's kind of tipped up. You can kind of see the top of an orc head, and next to it is a sign that's with a huge arrow pointing at the barrel that says it's not an orc. I want to make something like that, but instead of just this sign floating kind of behind it, I'm gonna have a grot holding it and like wrapped in a bush. Yes. Not an orc, and in really tiny, different colored lettering that's even worsely spelled. Yes, I said worsely. And tiny, even more terrible handwriting is not a grot.
Not a grot! Okay. Well, yeah, so I'm actually really happy with how my Bretonnian infantry turned out. I actually used a lot of the Bretonnian knights errant heads, which basically they were wearing these like half helmets, which
Oh, those guys. Yeah.
which I just didn't felt appropriate on a knight, as a knight's helmet.
Yeah.
But they work great for the miniatures. And I've got actually some swordsmen, and I've got my drunken monk carrying his big giant barrel. And
Did I tell you my next purchase idea for my for 40K?
no.
I'm gonna get a bag of bases.
Okay, you've got to explain now.
$10, 25 millimeter bases, 8 40 millimeter bases, or 40 millimeter bases, for your HQs, 1 dreadnought base, and like 5 or 6 bike bases.
Wait, are you going to fill those bases with complete scratch builds?
Not scratch builds. Like if I get the box of grots, which is another thing I'm planning on getting because I want to have bubble wrap for my infantry. They're all going to come on square bases, so they'll need round bases.
Oh yeah. You mean the goblins?
The goblins,
from
yeah.
fantasy that you're going to turn into 40K stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I'm planning on that, and I told Christopher this earlier. I don't know why, but I wanted, even though they're all gonna have guns and stuff, they all come with spears and bows and arrows because they're fantasy. And I still wanted one to have a bow. And I don't know why, because even a grot is not stupid enough to take an arrow and shoot it at a tank. And I was thinking, what could possibly replace an arrow? And I had a thought, and the only thing the orcs have in the future is something shaped like a stick, is a stick bomb, which is like one of those German World War II grenades. And I was like, well, he's going to have a bag of those on his back like a quiver, and he's going to have a grenade strung on a bow, and he's going to shoot grenades with a bow. I mean, it's something orky, and I love it. Nobody steal it if you're listening. You're like, oh, I'm going to try this now. Of course, now it's on the internet, so...
Yeah. People are going to try it. I mean, that's the cool thing about this hobby, is that we're all stealing from each other, and we each.
Oh yeah, we are.
That's awesome.
Someone did the Great Orc Shaman. Like they 40K. Yeah, they 40K'ified my bone guy, but they whittled his bone down to just a stick, and they made it like this cool little thingy bobby. Someone also did something really cool with a Weird Boy and the crazy grots with the chain balls.
Yeah.
Like, the grots who have the big chain, the big iron balls they swing the chains. They got the 40K Weird Boy, and he's floating above his base. What's keeping him in the air / holding him down are the grots that are swinging chains, but they cut the chain ball off and attached it to the Weird Boy's belt. So he's levitating with all this power, and they're trying to hold him down. Which is even funnier because the one that's
grots that is like actually in the air.
Oh yeah, there's like 3 of them on the ground. They're like holding him down, and there's the one that originally his ball would be glued to the base, and he'd be in the air, and he's like being pulled from behind.
Yes. Yes.
It was so beautiful. I was like, jeez, this almost made me want to get the Weird Boy. And I was like, why didn't I get the Weird Boy? Oh yeah, his skull split open and you could see his brain. I don't want to paint an orc brain.
Oh. Really?
Yeah.
What?
You can go look at him later, because what we're going to talk about now is one of our favorite animated series, which is the Clone Wars, which sadly came to an end about... It was about a year ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, actually.
And then they had all these episodes.
It's been about a year and 2 weeks, actually.
Yeah, they had another season that they couldn't release because Disney bought them, and Disney didn't want to air it because it was so dark. And then Netflix was like, "Hey, we'll buy them."
No. Okay. Disney. The reason that they're on Netflix is that Disney was wanting to put it out there, but they needed the right format for them, and they had to fully finish up those episodes.
Yeah, that too.
As arcs. So they were just looking for the right time to release them. So now it's very, very exciting that we finally get to see season 6, which I think
like them.
it wasn't like the good ending. Ahsoka's exit was about the most perfect ending I could imagine for the show. I mean, there really was nothing that could be better, and I still haven't been able to rewatch that. I'm even avoiding the music because I'm just like it's been a freaking year and I still can't handle it.
The thing that me and John were thinking about that we would have liked to have seen for the very last episode was the Yoda arc was great. The Order 66 arc was great. All the arcs were great. Yeah. We thought that they should have added one last episode, or maybe an arc that had to do with... Now, this is an interesting take that John had on it. You remember the original Clone Wars episode where they had the Battle of Coruscant?
You wanted lead into 3, didn't you?
We wanted to lead into 3.
I had hoped that we would get lead into 3, but
John actually had an interesting take on it because you know how it was all about, oh, Palpatine's not the bad guy and blah, blah, blah. He got captured by Grievous and blah, blah, blah. And they made it up to he was never the bad guy. I liked how they started hinting that Palpatine was the bad guy during the last couple seasons of Clone Wars. And John's idea was it would have been neat to see Palpatine as Sidious trying to escape Coruscant. And everyone, and someone saw him and was like, oh my gosh, someone's kidnapping Chancellor Palpatine.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, huge invasion fleet. And because Yoda kind of had some spoiler alert, visions to where Sidious and Dooku were, it could have been completely likely he's like, form a SWAT team we must, and attack and capture the Sith Lord. And then they get there and they find nothing, and they're like, wait, Dooku has Palpatine. Oh no!
Yeah, the thing about that is that at that moment when Yoda is having that vision of literally where the Sith Lords are, which wasn't that great, where Yoda chose the non-violent path.
Yeah. I mean, I understand why he chose it, but yeah.
Well, see, but that's the thing, is that he was realizing he had to get from Yoda the I'm gonna duel Dooku to wars not make one great. That great moment in the Yoda arc of the Clone Wars.
When Yoda encounters his darkness?
Where Yoda encounters his darkness, which, acted a little bit too much like Gollum for my tastes.
It did, but it was kind of neat to be like, when Yoda's like, I have no darkness, and then they're like, and then as soon as they're like, you have to go there, though, and encounter it, then you see that shadow of doubt, like Yoda's like, where
Yoda really had to unlearn what he had learned.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, but that's the thing.
How's that for eating your own words?
Well, okay, but here's the thing. It wasn't eating his own words, it was learning them.
Well, yes, it was.
It was learning them for the first time.
Unlearn to have learned, yes.
Right, because the Yoda of the Clone Wars was not the Yoda of Episode 5.
Mm-hmm. And I also like that foreshadowing of Anakin and Dooku.
Mm-hmm.
There were so many foreshadowings during the mission season. Do you remember when Anakin found Padme?
Mm-hmm.
That was like...
Oh,
your little short for a stormtrooper all over again. And if you look closely at the shadow, Anakin looks like Vader.
Well, Anakin always looks like Vader. I mean, Anakin has looked like Vader since Episode 1.
I mean, yeah, I know, but...
Yeah.
It was like for a split second, if you pause it at just the right time, his shadow looks like Vader.
Yeah. But anyway, at the moment where Yoda's having that vision of where Sidious and Tyrannus are, he's actually on the Sith homeworld of Moraband.
Yeah,
so,
I was kind of sad that it's not Korriban.
It was George's own... It originally was going to be called Korriban, and then George was like, "No, I don't like that. That's not the way I write."
But I do like that it's pretty much the same planet, just renamed.
Yeah,
yeah, it's Korriban.
Korriban and Moraband.
Yeah, you're right, and yeah.
Which, okay, for a word nut like me, moribund is a word which has to do with death. I don't remember the actual
Okay, I see.
definition at the
Okay,
moment.
that's a good logic, man.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing about it is that
But what about
Lucas
okay?
was, huh?
What do you think of the ghosts, their Sith spirits?
They're not
Armor,
Sith. Oh, okay. You're talking about the Sith manifestations on
yes,
Moribund.
yes.
Okay. Um, those aren't the Sith. Those were controlled by the priestess.
Well, yes. What about
Entirely controlled by the priestess.
but Bane?
Do
I
you know who
liked.
voiced him?
I don't, but I'm just really glad that he's like, "Do you know who I am?" I'm like, they better say that's Bane. They better say that's Bane. Bane, you are. I was like, yes, yes. Rule of two, and then Yoda's like, rule of two, you Bane. I was like, oh my gosh, yes. I had a geekasm.
You okay? Fans, Benjamin is about to have another geekasm. Darth
Okay,
Bane
Darth Bane was voiced by.
was voiced by Mark Hamill.
I, I'm. Well played, Dave Filoni. Well played.
Okay, so I'll tell you the story. Dave, Mark actually crashed an early recording session and was talking to Dave. Was like, "Hey, when am I going to get on this?" And Dave was like, "I would love to have you on this, but I've got to have the right character for you. I mean, it's got to be somebody worthy of you coming on the show and acting them, and it's got to be something that's going to, challenge you as an actor."
And
And
Mark being the guy he is, he probably did it for free or for a really, really reasonable price.
it probably was for a reasonable price. I mean, this is the industry. There are rules. You
I
know
mean, yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, Mark's a great guy. Of course, everybody wanted to be on this show. It's awesome. Um, but Dave was just like, when I had Darth Bane, it was
We
like,
need the
okay,
right thing for you.
yeah, we need the right thing for you. And when they got Darth Bane, it was like, okay, now we've got the right thing. So what they actually did was they had him do two different voices, two different creepy Mark Hamill, Darth Bane voices,
And played it
and
with
layered them on top of each other, which you can kind of hear. And yeah, Benjamin's just like doing stuff.
I'm having an actor fanboy, actor, director, every creative industry thing that I could and want to be, and partially am, is oozing with joy and happiness at this brilliant creativity.
I
Even
w-
though it's one of those things I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, I know exactly what they're doing and blah blah blah. And it's actually really funny. The more I've been doing film and stuff, I've been seeing like continuity errors in TV shows and movies. It's really cool. But that set aside, watching that and like knowing everything they're doing, and now hearing like who did it and it was all, how it was all planned out, I'm just like, so happy. I could literally die happy right now, probably. Actually, no, I couldn't, because that segues into our next talk, which is about Star Wars
Rebels.
Rebels. Oh my gosh. Woo!
Don't you love?
Kanan, Ezra, Hera, Zeb. Can't wait for Zeb. Chopper and Sabine. She is my heartthrob. Sabine is my heartthrob.
Sabine's the bad, isn't she?
Oh, okay. So a little quick rundown of the characters. Kanan is a Jedi, or I should say ex-Jedi, and I hope they're going to do him tastefully. He's actually literally described by Dave Filoni as the cowboy Jedi. Okay, quickly before I can say this, the crew of the Ghost, which is the ship that Hera owns, we'll explain later. This actually, Rebels makes me think that it's kind of like a Star Wars, a Firefly.
I know. Isn't it totally like the crew of the Firefly?
it is like the crew of the Firefly. Serenity. But watch Firefly and Serenity if you haven't, guys. We'll probably talk about it on a future
The
podcast.
crew of Firefly, parentheses, the show, close parentheses, open parentheses, they actually are on the ship Serenity, close parentheses.
Yeah. But
People
anyway.
know. People know this show.
Kanan is the captain, and he's an ex-Jedi. No one in the crew knows he's a Jedi that I know of. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
He's cool. Ezra is a Force-sensitive boy that is pretty much...
He's the con artist kid.
He's the con artist kid, and that's going to be cool. And he collects stormtrooper helmets and disassembles them, and is pretty much making his own super helmet for himself. Yeah. The cool thing about him is every show he's going to be stealing a stormtrooper helmet every time he gets the opportunity, and his room is filled with stormtrooper helmets, and he's got his own that he's kind of slicing and dicing and pasting stuff on, and blah blah blah.
I would love to see the Phase 1 and Phase 2 Clone Trooper helmets.
Oh, I'm
Make
sure.
a cameo in his room.
I'm sure they'll do that. And Chopper is the astromech unit, and quote, I don't remember who quote this, if R2-D2 was the dog of the Star Wars universe, Chopper is the cat. Well, it's true. R2-D2 is always very happy, very positive about stuff. Chopper grumbles. He just drives around. And if you tell R2 to do something, he jumps right to it. You tell Chopper to do something, he has to decide if it's worth doing it. If he's going to get a benefit out of it, he'll do it. If not, he'll do it whenever he feels like it, which is going to be awesome. I guess we'll talk about Hera now. Hera is the Twi'lek. I'm gonna start saying Twi'lek because everyone's been saying Twi'lek.
Actually, okay, wait. Okay, we're gonna have this discussion now. Sorry, pause.
We'll make it short.
Okay. All right. Are you Twi'lek or Twi'lek?
Personally, I'm Twi'lek.
Okay. Are you Hoth or Hoth?
Hoth.
Are you Han or Han?
Han.
What are some others which are pronounced
actually,
both
true.
ways?
Leia says Han. Lando says Han.
Han! It's just time to save Han at the East platform.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about that too. I'm gonna write a note. Anyways.
Okay, but see, can you think of any other words or phrases or names in the Star Wars canon? Kashyyyk and Kashyyyk. Has that actually been pronounced different ways in the films and Clone Wars series?
I don't know. I'll have to get back with you on that.
Okay, but anyway, I know that those three.
I'll continue to say Twi'lek.
Twi'lek, Hoth, and Han are all pronounced different ways, actually within the canon.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I love the expanded universe, people.
Unpause?
No, we're going to talk about the expanded universe now, and then we're going to go back to Rebels. I love the expanded universe.
But it all needs to be together about the crew and stuff.
We'll make it work. Okay. I love the expanded universe. Benjamin and I are fighting here. It's awesome. I love the expanded universe, but for the moment,
not as much as me.
Until Disney figures out what's canon and what's not.
Disney screws it up. I know.
Until Lucasfilm finally gets their act together and reins in their Karen Travisai.
I like that. I can deal with that. I like that.
I am basically considering just the 6, soon-to-be 9 films and the 2 Lucasfilm animated series, Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, to be canon. Everything else I am waiting on. Yes, I love the Zahn books, but we'll see if they're still canon.
Please,
What's your opinion?
I would love to see the Zahn books, but deep within, I know it's not going to happen. But if J.J. Abrams is as smart as a bunch of people think he is, and if he's as big of a Star Wars fan as he claims to be, he will at least work in a cameo involving a Thrawn-like Chiss. If he's smart.
I'm holding out for that. I think a cameo is at least likely. Will it be Thrawn? Will it be
Okay.
the same?
Here's what would make me happy. Let's just say space battle. Capital ships fighting capital ships. There's still Star Destroyers. Let's just say that. Imperial Remnant. I'm just going to throw that out there. Doesn't have to be perfect. Maybe the Empire's a little more personalized now, like they were in the Republic, so we've got kind of a blue-ish Star Destroyer, way in the background. We're cutting from bridge to bridge on the good side and the bad side. I would be happy with a Chiss in a white Admiral uniform, says a command to his underling officer who has a mustache, and his name's Peleon. It doesn't even have to say the name, just the tip of the hat to those two characters. They shout orders, the Star Destroyer does something. I would be happy. I would forgive J.J. Abrams for anything else if that happened. Something along those lines. Even if it was just a Chiss and a human talking to each other in the Imperial Senate in the background.
Okay. Hey, could you turn your video off? Your audio's kind of going a little bit weird. Let's see if that makes any difference.
Any difference?
Oh, much better.
Okay.
Much better. There we go. Great.
So do we want to continue with the crew?
Yes. Rebels. So, okay.
Hera is the Twi'lek. She's actually the owner and technically captain of the crew. She's also the pilot. And she's also the mother-like character to Ezra. And pretty much the entire crew. Kanan is what keeps them together and organized. Hera is the emotional stability for the entire crew.
Yeah.
Zeb is going to be my favorite character. One, because he has an awesome Australian/Cockney accent, and he's a huge purple alien, which is based off the original Chewbacca design. So they've introduced an entirely new Star Wars alien race, and it's based off of the original Ralph McQuarrie drawings.
Do his voice.
This is Zeb. I don't remember his full name, but Zeb talks like this. And Zeb, see, he's muscle. And he likes to smash stormtrooper heads together. And that's kind of his voice. And it literally, in the...
Hey, Zeb, are you bashing stormtrooper heads together again?
What makes you think that? But that's like, I was watching it, I was like, I don't know if I'll probably like Zeb. But it'll be, I like him as a secondary character. Zeb carries a really cool gun, and he also has this cool staff, which he carries in two pieces, and he can use them as stun batons or slap them together to make them a double, huge polearm. He runs into a bunch of stormtroopers, much like Han in Episode 4, and instead of turning around and running, or pulling out a gun and shooting them, he pulls out the two sticks and charges them, and then just starts beating the crud out of them. And then, like Christopher said, Kanan calls me. He's like, "Are you fighting stormtroopers?" He's like, "What makes you say that?" Grabs two of them and smashes them together and knocks them out.
Wasn't he like a royal bodyguard back on his homeworld?
He was a royal bodyguard who somehow got exiled after he had a bad run-in with the Empire when they showed up. They're like, "Hey, we're running things this way," and then Zeb was like, don't push my my guy around," and then he got kicked out. But that'll be explained in the series. That's just what we've been given and what we're speculating.
Zeb kind of reminds me a little bit of Jane from Firefly.
That's what I'm saying, because you've got Kanan, who is
who's Malcolm.
Who's Malcolm Reynolds. Then you've got Hera, who's okay. Hera is kind of a mix of Kaylee and Wash, kind of, because she's the pilot and the mechanic. Ezra. Yeah. I'm not sure who Ezra is. He kind of strikes me as River, like a male version of River. Zeb is Jane, hands down. Chopper's kind of the oddball. Maybe a little bit of Book, not really. He's too mean to be Book. So he's the odd one out. No Book. He's the odd one out. Yeah. Then you have my heartthrob, Sabine. And I will tell you why she's my heartthrob. One, because she's a Mandalorian. Two, she's the explosives expert. 3, she expresses herself through art. She paints. Now,
which is a very Mandalorian thing.
Which is a very Mandalorian thing, especially based on the Karen Traviss series about them having their war art and their...
Wait. Okay. Putting the Karen Traviss stuff aside, you look at the Mandalorians as George Lucas wanted them portrayed. They're extremely technological.
But
They developed their technology basically to counter the Jedi, to give them Jedi-like powers.
yeah,
So they're a warrior culture that has to be extremely technological to be a warrior culture.
mm-hmm.
And they are also extremely artistic. I mean, if you look at their planet, Naboo is the only planet I can think of that is more artistic than them.
Yeah. Sabine, she paints, and she comes up with this cool graffiti of the Phoenix, and it's strangely reminiscent of the Rebel Alliance coat of arms. I'm going to call it a coat of arms.
The Rebel Alliance symbol? Yeah, I hope that we get the kind of official story of where they got that symbol from.
I'm sure we're going to get it, but Sabine is also... her armor has paint splatters all over it. That's literally her decals. Is all the paint that's splattered on her forearms while she's been painting. Because she carries dual pistols, all these explosives, and paint canisters, and this little paint spray gun.
I like it.
Oh yeah, and I think that's the entire crew.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I have to say, I love Chopper. I want his action figure. I
You
want
want
like
who?
a full-size Chopper.
I just want the crew. I want the crew in action figure form. They will be on my desk, and the only other action figures that will be on my desk will be Deadpool and Lady Deadpool, back to back, and maybe a Deathstroke that they're standing on. That'll be my action figure collection. Well, I think that's about it for today. So check out our Facebook page at The Poe-Cast, with hyphen between Poe and Cast.
Just
YouTube.
keep going, because
We haven't done this in a
while.
Check us out on our YouTube channel where you can see all these things. Once again, The Poe-Cast, hyphen between Poe and Cast. Shoot us an email, thepoecast2119@gmail.com if you have any suggestions what we should talk about, blah, 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 and all that jazz. Christopher's trying to get us on iTunes, so keep an eye out for that.
Yes. Hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon. So you can have us on your iPod and be bored on your iPod as opposed to being bored sitting in front of a computer. Anyways, I'm Benjamin.
I'm Christopher.
And this is the Poe-Cast.
Signing off. I'm calling that done, and we're gonna do another one.
Okay.
Want to do another one?
Yeah, let's do another one because I still have Being Human, Walking Dead.